walk from our house, which is right by the canal bridge to the Superdome. It took us about 2.5 hours to get there. Couldn't use our cars because they were all flooded out and there was no other way to go.
I was at my house in Mid-City. As soon as I finished eating all the stuff I got from the restaurant, I started eating canned food. My boat floated up to my house. The water was higher than all the fences, so anything in people's backyards was just floating down the road. I just got lucky. The canoe floated by my house and I grabbed it. I have a 30-foot house. The whole bottom floor was flooded. About 13 feet of water. You could canoe right in the house through the windows and then tie up to the steps and walk upstairs. It was pretty crazy. Floating through your house is pretty interesting.
I had to make some quick decisions. The water rose right over us, so you didn't know where it was going to stop. Of course, the front door was sealed from the water pressure, so I had to find a crowbar or something to open the door. I was feeling around with my feet to see what was there. So I finally got the front door open. We have a small dog that's a Shih Tzu. I put him in a backpack and put it on my back and started walking some higher ground.
My husband was initially stationed with the New Orleans Fire Department. Methodist Hospital was just a few blocks away and they were bringing him there in boats. The Methodist was turning him away because all the hospital generators had flooded and they had to evacuate their patients. So he was sent to the Superdome. We put our belongings in trash bags and carried them. We found a trash can on the way there, and so we just kind of stuck our stuff in there so it would float. We took turns pulling it or flowing through the water depending on water level. The closer we got to the Superdome, the water got very high. Some areas were higher than others. One guy we passed on the way, he had his girlfriend floating on a mattress, and he told us,
Hey, don't go that direction. The water's too high.
he was soaked from head to toe. He was trying to swim, pushing her.
It took 9 hours to walk across the water. And during that walk, words really can't describe how horrible that was. Bodies everywhere. There were people drowning and dying, crying for help. Children. Everything you can imagine that was so horrible that words can't describe it took place. People getting murdered. People getting killed right in front of me. People so desperate they didn't know what to do.
My father's a dialysis patient. We passed the hospital and we wanted to get him in there. And they said only he could be admitted, and he didn't want to be put in the hospital without us. He wanted to keep us together so we wouldn't stay there. We went on. When Daddy's walking in water, he has a catheter in his chest. Child? But he's really afraid of water.
Just keep walking. Don't say nothing to him.
But the water, it's freezing. It's like walking to your grave.
Try to think of good things.
Try to look like I don't know what's going on. I freak out if I'm out of control of things. I guess I can try to keep my mind off all the bad stuff.
You're the oldest. You're the pillar of this family.
The water was cold and we walked through it. Once we got out of it, it was hot. It was a super hot day. We got to the Superdome. Daddy, you know you walked in water?
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't think about it. I didn't want to be fearful in front of you guys.
The Superdome is the shelter of last resort. If you have no way out of the city, go there.
We were in the Superdome from Tuesday to Friday. When we first got there, they kind of frisked everybody, made sure nobody had alcohol, weapons, drugs, anything like that. We stood in line for a while. I think it took about an hour and a half to get in there.
What do we do now?
We find somewhere to sit.
The 20-yard line. Word!
When we got there, the water and everything was running, but somewhere between that Tuesday night and that Wednesday morning, the water was cut off completely. So the bathrooms began to overflow.
You can no longer use the facilities. If you have to use the bathroom, go find a corner.
So after a while, the Superdome started smelling like a big cesspool. We had to try to find different places to stay because it started getting trashed, and more people started coming in.
25,000 were at the Superdome. 20,000 at the convention center.
So wherever you found a spot, you got there and you kept it until it was time to move.
You need to line up if you want an MRE meal.
Lines for the meals ready to eat wrapped around the dome. If you wanted to get a meal, you had to get up fairly early and you stood in line for a long time.
I see some kids from school. Can I go?
Let's stay together.
But
Don't go too far. Make sure you know exactly where we are before you leave, and check back in 30 minutes so we know you're okay.
We went to see people we knew and they came by us. We took turns sleeping, like taking cat naps, but other than that, we tried to find ways to pass the time when you have nothing to do.
But the Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest, so that the ship seemed likely to be wrecked. And the sailors were afraid and cried.
Lord, I know you don't want me to die like this. In this water, Lord, help me find a way out. Guide me to safety.
As Jonah had gone down into the recesses of the ship, and he lay down and
I got to a point where I was so tired. By that time, I was about a mile from my house, and I didn't know which way to go. It was so desolate. It was getting dark. Water was up to my neck.
His supervisors decided that my husband and his colleagues needed to leave the Superdome because at times they were getting calls for help.
Somebody over here needs medical assistance.
And when they would go see that person, their lives were being verbally threatened by somebody else.
Help me or I'll kill you!
Help me first, now!
I can't stay
The
here!
situation had turned so violent, so all the medical people ended up leaving the Superdome and walking to the convention center. The conditions weren't any better there.
We had guards with us when we walked past the Superdome. The sights and the stench and everything there was just like a third world country. You had people that were sick, you know. This elderly lady, she had to use the bathroom, and the only thing that she could do was have her family members stand around her while she squatted to use the bathroom. I'm saying, whoa, this is for real.
There was a police officer I know who was in the Superdome. He said a mother came up to him with a baby in her arms and said, "Can you help me?" The baby was dead. She was walking around with a dead baby in her arms. I said, "What did you do, Robert?"
All I could do was tell her to call me. It's just like laying the baby down right now.
I didn't really eat or sleep for 5 days. We saw a couple of guys get beat up. They were taking kids or like young girls, like 13 or 14, and taking them into the bathroom because we didn't have any lights in there, and raping them. It was like nobody was going in there because it was funky, so it was like open area. Just go ahead and do whatever. Nobody was going to catch you. But I guess some guys actually caught one of the guys trying to do it, and they beat him up right in front of us.
Time magazine took a picture of an old lady outside the Superdome, covered up, still sitting in her wheelchair. I can tell you that was absolutely the truth. One of my employees says she saw people being raped in there, and when she brought it to people's attention, they did nothing. The police were overwhelmed, absolutely. You got 6 bullets in your gun. What, you're gonna shoot one of them? And you got thousands of people on top of you. Thousands of hungry, scared, poor, hot, sick, dying people. Nothing. For days.
By the time the National Guard came in, the police were so tired. Most of these policemen had to deal with their families and their own flooding problems. I would let them come into our center and just get a cold bottle of water. And it was like giving them $500. You could see the look in their faces and what they had to deal with. One of the policemen who killed himself was sitting in our center the night before.
I lost communication with my husband for roughly a week. I had no idea what was going on, and then he called.
Sweetheart,
Oh my God, are you all right?
we've all been moved to a safe location.
I heard the paramedics were in danger. Is it true?
Yeah, but we've left the convention center. All the paramedics are in a hotel with some police. Well, we were. Did you hear that story about police confiscating vehicles from a Cadillac dealership? Well, it's true, because I was there with those guys.
We're going out to get vehicles.
You're just gonna leave us here?
What can we do? All our cars are flooded.
We need your protection!
Sorry. You'll have to fend for yourselves.
Luckily, I brought my own gun. Just part of my military training, I guess. So every night we have to assign people to sit and watch because we're still having people who just drive by and randomly shoot.
For what reason?
Nobody really knows.
I saw in the news that the jail's flooded, and there's no place to put people that are breaking in and robbing stores. So the police are just telling them, drop what you have and get out of here. So they're going to places where there's no police.
Most of the stores in the city have had everything taken out. Not a shoe left in a shoe store. Not a ring left in a jewelry store. Not a camera left in an electronics store.
The city's gone crazy.
One night there at the hotel, we were asleep, and the police
Get up! I need everyone to take off!
They're not gonna take us! They're not getting away with it! No, wait a minute! We're not policemen. You lock that door right there. If anybody comes here, we'll take care of that. But I'm not going looking for them. That's not my job.
Well, we got some looters trying to take our food from the delivery truck outside. I'm just trying to protect that.
We were watching CNN, and it was showing the black people in New Orleans. My friend just said some shitty racist things, and I wanted to wring her fucking neck. I just hate that.
The black people are going crazy and taking over the city.
Yeah, of course they're looting. Probably everyone's starving, and it's like 112 degrees there.
I went to Jackson, Mississippi. I had to go there and watch the damn TV portraying the people of the city as animals. And it's like, okay, when people, if you think that your life is in jeopardy, you become something else. You're gonna click into survival mode.
Part 5, getting out.